Do you ever scroll through LinkedIn or watch YouTube videos and you see all these gurus that are just sitting there crushing it? I mean, they wake up at 4:30 in the morning, they're doing their workout before 5 a.m., they're making multi-million-dollar businesses before lunch, while you're sitting there in front of the freezer with the holy glow of that light shining on you with a mouthful of an ice cream sandwich. Yeah, I live there too. And that's why I want to look at the book Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. So welcome to The Honest Shelf. My name is Austin, and today we're going to dive in to the Diary of a CEO by Stephen Bartlett. And this book is not what you expect. This isn't just another productivity guru telling you to grind harder and work more. This is actually someone that's working in the trenches, admitting that he doesn't have it all figured out either. And that's exactly why this book works. And I'm going to share with you 3 laws from this book that have completely changed how I approach learning, career growth, and honestly just being a human. So if you've ever felt behind, underqualified, or uncertain about what you have to offer, stay with me. So we're talking about the Diary of a CEO. I need to change. Let's look at law number 2. And that law number 2 is create an obligation to teach. This law was probably the most influential for me. This is what led me to want to start on a shelf. And law number 2 really starts off with a quote that Stephen quotes Yogi Bhajan. It says, if you want to learn something, read about it. If you want to understand something, write about it. And if you want to master something, teach it. I remember exactly where I was when I heard this. I was cutting the grass in my backyard with the audiobook playing, and I immediately shut off the lawnmower, grabbed my phone, rewound the audiobook, and started typing out that quote. And here's really what caught me. It's so simple. You read to learn, you write to understand, and you teach to master. It's childlike, but it's so devastatingly accurate. At the time, I was reading like 2 books a week, which I know it sounds impressive, but what I was really doing was nothing because I wasn't applying that knowledge anywhere. It became really just an expensive hobby, just consumption without transformation. And this quote really hit me. And then, of course, combined with Noah Kagan's quote, now, not how. And then I realized I needed to put skin in the game. So I started writing about what I was reading. Then I committed publicly to teaching these concepts here on YouTube, my school community, different blog posts that I'm writing. And the moment that I told you all that I was going to cover a certain book next week, that I was going to cover Diary of a CEO, I couldn't back out. I created a public obligation. And that social pressure, that obligation to you all, forced me to go back. It forced me to reread Diary of a CEO, to research even deeper and actually understand what Stephen's talking about instead of just trying to consume it. After my first video, I promised you more content. I kicked myself a little because I had just committed to something I really wasn't ready for. And then I posted about running kind of like November as a month in 3 acts and named 3 specific books that I was going to cover, which created even more pressure. But here's the thing, the obligation forced me to go back and reread. And on that second read, I actually found another law that completely shifted my perspective on things. Creating that obligation forced me to go and relearn and actually understand more of what I'm trying to teach to you all who are watching these videos. So here's your challenge. If you could just pick one skill that you are trying to develop right now, why don't you commit to teaching it to just one person? A colleague, a friend, post about it online, it doesn't matter. And just watch how that obligation transforms your learning. Because you can't fake teaching. Questions expose your weak spots and you're forced to go deeper. And that's where mastery sets in. Law number 1, fill your 5 buckets. So on the first read of this particular law, I was like, yeah, super obvious. It makes sense. I get it. No big deal. But on my second read, when I made that commitment to you guys last time, to that obligation to teach, something really clicked with me in this particular one, and I was doing some reflection. So the 5 buckets are knowledge, skills, network, resources, and reputation. And here's the insight that really changed everything for me. And the order really does matter because the first 2 buckets, those are completely portable. The last 3, they're not. So I want to tell you a story. Let's go down memory lane with Austin. So I'm a college dropout. I moved out at 17 from my parents' house. And then when I was 18, I decided to get up and move even further away up to Raleigh, North Carolina. where I started what I thought was going to be my lifelong career. And I was a barista at a specialty coffee shop, and I freaking loved it. I took classes on milk chemistry and brew science. I competed in latte art competitions and cup tasting challenges. I would just go to coffee shops all the time, and I felt like a rock star. All my 5 buckets were full. I had the knowledge, I had the skills, I was building a network and resources and a reputation. I could walk into restaurants and get free stuff because people recognized who I was and that I've served them a cup of coffee and created an experience for them. And then life changed, okay? I needed a job with better hours so I could actually see my new wife, because working 5 a.m. to like 10 p.m. as a newlywed, it's not great. So I left the coffee world. And suddenly my network was gone, my reputation was gone, my resources were gone. And then I moved into corporate sales, cold calling customers for a pest control company. And those coffee skills that I had and the knowledge that I had about coffee was kind of useless in selling pest control. But on reflection, the communication skills that I developed explaining why customers should spend, $5 on a pour over coffee, that translated into cold calling. My ability to create experiences and that show that value of the coffee helped me become a sales leader. Then we moved back to rural Georgia, middle of stinking nowhere. We got 2 Waffle Houses and maybe like 3 red lights. But I left all my network, my resources, my reputation back in North Carolina. So I had to start all over again. But the thing is, I had my knowledge and I had my skills. I found another pest control company and I applied for it, and they didn't want to hire me because I was overqualified for the position. But I begged and pleaded and was able to convince them to hire me anyway. And I started out at the bottom. I was spraying houses, I was crawling in crawl spaces, doing termite treatments on people's homes and putting up insulation and stuff like that. And I even went into anaphylaxis multiple times, actually, by getting stung by a wasp right between the eyes. There's a picture there. It was great, fun times. But during that tenure, I kept filling my buckets, my knowledge, my skills. I could tell you what metamorphosis a mosquito goes through, or a termite, how particular treatments work. I was obsessing over labels. I was trying to become the best service professional that the company had ever seen. And because of doing that and going into anaphylaxis, I was able to go in to get in a sales position. And then from that sales position, I was able to move into a sales coaching role. And then while I was in that coaching role, I was teaching myself kind of more advanced Excel skills so that I could better assist my team. And from that, I saw an opportunity in IT. I applied for that position and then continued to work there. And then I built out this job description, presented to leadership, and it got accepted. And now I hold that position. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds for me as I continue in this company. So what does a guy with no degree who knows how to make pretty dope latte art have to offer a multi-million-dollar company as an analyst? Well, it's because I understand that creating a great cup of coffee and designing an experience is in the same essence as identifying trends in data and presenting them to executives. It's just different mediums. So here's one of the key lessons that I took away from this. You don't have to have a perfect network or an established reputation to make your next move. You need transferable knowledge and skills that will let you rebuild everything else. So stop waiting for all 5 of your buckets to be full. Focus on the first 2, and the rest will follow. I want you to ask yourself, what knowledge am I currently building that works across multiple different industries? What skills solve problems everywhere? And if I lost my network tomorrow, what could I rebuild from? Okay, last law. Law number 6, ask, don't tell. Stephen uses an example from the 1980 presidential debate between Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter. Ronald Reagan was offered this perfect opportunity to just rip Jimmy Carter to shreds. He could have attacked his policies, his politics, his core base. He could attack everything that he wanted to and show why Ronald Reagan was superior. Instead, he decided just to ask really one simple question. And that question is, are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? And he let the audience decide. And they did. Here's why this matters. Statements trigger defensiveness. They feel like someone is forcing a conclusion on us. However, Questions trigger reflection. They invite us to reach our own conclusions, which we are more likely to actually believe and act on. And this works everywhere. In leadership, if you went and you said, hey, you need to fix this project, why don't you try asking, hey, what would make this project feel complete? In sales, instead of, hey, this product will solve all of your problems, why don't you try, hey, what is it that it's costing you to not solve this problem? In personal development, instead of, hey, I should go to the gym today, ask yourself, will I go to the gym today? And if not, why? As a parent, I've learned this lesson the hard way. My kids hate cleaning. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because they're kids or what, but yelling doesn't work. Commands don't work. I can be as stinking mad as that hornet that stung me in the face. It just doesn't matter. That communication just doesn't work with these kids. And so last night I kind of was thinking about this and decided to ask a question. I said, what would make this room feel better? Super simple. And lo and behold, they gave me a whole laundry list of things, and it was hilarious. But like, a slide would make this better. A super cozy blanket fort. What else did they say? A rhinoceros, which is ridiculous. And then I kind of was just prying a little bit more, and I was like, what about it being clean? Like, oh yeah, clean would make it incredibly better. It's like, so that would make it better, right? Would you like me to help you, or can you handle this on your own? Then all of a sudden they're bought in. They're ready to go, and they're like in clean mode because the idea was theirs and it wasn't mine. They have autonomy now. They got to make the decision. They created their own ownership. Questions disarm resistance. They create ownership. So they're the fastest path to clarity and commitment. So here's the through line with all three of these laws. They all acknowledge that none of us have it all figured out. Not Stephen Bartlett, not Elon Musk. And that's really the point. You don't need to be the guru on the mountaintop. You just need to be willing to teach what you're learning and create an obligation. Build portable foundations with your knowledge and skills that survive any pivot, and ask instead of tell to create buy-in and clarity. And really, that's what makes Stephen's book so powerful. Isn't that he's cracked some secret code, but it's that he's honest about still being in the process. And he's built frameworks that work because they assume you're figuring it out too. So here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to pick one of these laws and apply it. That's it. If you choose law number 2, commit to teaching one thing that you're learning. Write a post about it, make a video, explain it to a friend. Notice what you realize that you don't actually understand yet. Put it in the comments. I need to know about it. If you choose law number 1, audit your 5 buckets. Rate each one of them 1 to 10. Then ask, if I lost buckets 3 through 5, can I rebuild from my knowledge and my skills? Choose law number 6. Find one place this week that you're tempted to just make a statement. Reframe it as a question and watch what happens. You don't need to have 13.5 million subscribers to have something valuable to offer. You just need to be one step ahead of someone else and be willing to pull them forward with you. And that's enough. So I want you to drop a comment. Which of these laws you're applying this week? What's one concept from the Diary of a CEO that changed your perspective on things? I read, of course, every single comment because I don't have very many of them. And then again, next week, we're going to be diving into Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg, learning how to connect deeper and communicate better. So if you got value from this video at all, please hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for being here. I appreciate it very, very much. And I will see you next week.